Welcome to the Explainer. All right, today we're diving into the GM 1.5 turbo engine. You'll find this thing under the hood of some of GM's biggest sellers. The problem? For way too many owners, it's turned into a massive, expensive headache.
So if you just look at the specs, the GM 1.5-liter turbo seems like, a total game changer. It's in cars you see everywhere, the Chevy Equinox, the Malibu. It was built to be super fuel efficient, clean, and really quiet. Honestly, it sounds like the perfect engine for pretty much anyone, right?
But, and this is a big but, for a whole lot of people, the reality has been, well, a complete nightmare. Underneath all that modern tech, a really nasty pattern of serious, and I mean expensive, problems has started to show up. It really makes you wonder if this engine can go the distance.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll look at the main issues, dive into the 4 biggest failures, pinpoint the worst model years, talk money and fixes, and then, figure out the big takeaway.
All right, let's get into it. What exactly is this engine, and why is the reality so different from what was promised?
So this 1.5 turbo is part of what GM calls their small gasoline engine family. The whole idea was to make something light, efficient, and super smooth. Less of that rumbling and shaking on your commute. Looked at that way, it seems like the ideal engine for a daily driver.
Yeah, but that promise of a nice quiet ride, it's been completely drowned out by some really gnarly mechanical problems. We're talking a consistent stream of reports from owners about everything from turbos just giving up in the cold to pistons literally getting destroyed. Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. We're going to walk through the 4 most common, you could even say infamous, failures that keep popping up with this engine.
First up, and probably the one you've heard the most about, is the turbo just failing, especially when it gets cold outside. What happens is moisture gets into the system, it freezes up, and bam, it blocks the airflow. The car suddenly loses all its power, goes into what's called limp home mode, and this can happen on cars that are practically brand new.
And look, this is so important. This isn't just about a repair bill. Think about it. You're pulling out into traffic, you hit the gas, and nothing happens. The engine just bogs down. That's not just an inconvenience. That is flat out dangerous.
And yeah, the financial hit is no joke. To get a whole new turbocharger put in, you're looking at anywhere from $1,200 to $2,500. That's a serious chunk of change.
All right, problem number 2, wacky oil pressure. Think of oil pressure as your engine's blood pressure. It needs to be stable. But with these engines, owners are seeing the gauge just go haywire, jumping all over the place. That can mean the pressure's way too high or way too low, and it often leads to the engine just chugging oil.
Just so you have a baseline, a normal, healthy engine should sit calmly between, say, 20 and 30 psi when you're just idling. What we're seeing with the 1.5T, these huge wild swings, sometimes spiking over 70 psi, all while the car is just sitting still. That's not right.
And here's the kicker. If that crazy oil pressure goes on long enough and chews up the inside of the engine, you're not just looking at a simple fix. You're looking at a full engine rebuild. We're talking $4,000 easy. Ouch.
Okay, next on our list of frustrations is what I like to call the phantom check engine light. You know the feeling. Your heart sinks when that little light pops up on the dash. But then you take it to the mechanic, they plug in their computer, and nothing. No error codes. It's a ghost.
And this puts owners in a really tough spot. The mechanic can't find anything wrong because the light isn't on right now. Some dealerships have actually told people to just ignore it. Can you imagine? Just drive around and hope that check engine light doesn't mean something catastrophic this time. That's a huge gamble.
And now for the big one, the most destructive problem of them all, cracked or even melted pistons. This is caused by something called stochastic pre-ignition. In simple terms, it's like a small explosion happening inside the engine at the wrong time. This rogue ignition creates a massive spike in pressure and heat, and it can literally tear the engine apart from the inside.
Let's be clear, this is a catastrophic engine-killing failure. Fixing it means a complete teardown and rebuild. The bill for that? It often starts at $7,000 and can climb north of $10,000. We are talking about a repair that can cost more than the car is worth.
Okay, so we've got all these problems. The big question is, are some cars worse than others? Let's dig into the data and see which model years you really need to be careful with.
And here you have it laid out plain and simple. That 2018 to 2021 window looks like the real danger zone. That's where we see a high frequency of both the turbo failures and the cracked pistons.
especially in the Equinox, Malibu, and the GMC Terrain.
So, you might be wondering, with all this going on, what has GM actually done about it? Let's take a look at the official response.
Well, here's the thing. There hasn't been a full-blown recall. Instead, GM sent out what are called technical service bulletins, basically memos to their dealers. For the failing turbos, the fix is a radiator cover. For the exploding pistons, it's a software update and a specific type of oil. And for the crazy oil pressure, the official advice is basically, just keep an eye on it. Not exactly a comprehensive fix, is it? Now I know what you're thinking, but what about the warranty? And you're right, the powertrain warranty should cover this stuff. But the reality is many owners have had their claims flat out denied. They get told it's their fault, driver operation, or you didn't maintain it right, and they end up stuck with a massive bill for a problem they didn't cause.
So, let's pull all this together. What's the final takeaway here? What's the bigger story behind the GM 1.5 Turbo?
When you look at it, this whole situation points to a much bigger question for the entire car industry. We're all pushing for better gas mileage, lower emissions, and that's great. But are we designing engines that are just too complex, too fragile to be reliable in the long run? Because with this engine, it really feels like the true cost of efficiency isn't what you pay at the pump, it's what you end up paying your mechanic.